I'm Kathy, and I am here today to show you how to clean your grinder on a Gaggia Titanium. The instructions also apply to the Gaggia Compact, the compact models, Synchrony compact models. So here we go. First step, you want to turn off the machine, always, very important. Also unplug it. You always want to unplug it. Alright. So, if you keep getting the, fill the coffee beans, the machine keeps telling you that the bean hopper is empty. This bean hopper is full, you can see. But if you ever get that message repeatedly, what you need to do is follow these instructions. So the first thing you're going to do, unplug the machine, then remove your water tank. You don't want any spills to happen. Put that right back there. Alright, first thing again, take off your hopper lid. This one just pops off. You can see these little things just go right in there. Just pull straight up, don't break them. Then just take off your normal lid, put everything to the side. So there's going to be some beans in there, there usually is. So what you're going to want to do is, you don't want to lose your beans, so you can scoop them out as best you can, but you can also just vacuum them out. So I'm going to use my handy vacuum and vacuum these all out. So you can see that the hopper is clear, you can see all the inner workings, and there are 3 screws that you want to take off. One here, and one here. So we're going to do that right now. Make sure that when you're unscrewing these, you don't drop the screws down in there. Also make sure you don't lose them. So put them somewhere, on the counter that you're not going to lose them. You can find replacements at a hardware store if you do lose them, or you can call us and we can send you some replacement screws out. Alright, there's 2, and here is the last one. Alright, so now the hopper's loose. It's not important where these dials are. All you have to do is just grab the hopper and lift it straight out. There you go. Put that to the side. Again, don't lose that. So you're going to look in and see that there are still some more beans in there. You want to clean them out. So I'm going to vacuum again. The first thing you're going to notice is this big black rubber ring right on the top. You want to remove that. It's very important. Again, don't lose this. That keeps the beans going into the grinder instead of just all into the insides of the machine. So very important to remember to put that back in too. So you can see that there is the dosage adjustment is this little thing right here, comes forward and back. And then there is the inner burr, and then there's the outer adjustment collar. The inner burr are these 4 pegs, and we're going to remove that in a second. But the outer adjustment collar is this part right here. It's got all these teeth on it. So what you want to do, turn that counterclockwise. You can see it has a little red paint spot on it. So you're going to do these instructions facing the machine. So you're going to be, watching this video, from your own perspective. So this little red paint spot should be at your 9 o'clock position. So turn it. Sometimes you got to turn it a little bit farther. That's all right. And then you should be able to just grab one of these tabs and pull this burr right out. Got to wiggle it a little bit. And you can see it's got some coffee on it. You want to make sure that you clean this burr, but don't use any liquid. Don't use any solvents or anything like that. What you want to do is just brush it off with like an old toothbrush, or we have some brushes on our site too that you can use that are specially for this. So put that to the side, clean it up, and if you look, you can see now that the grinder still has some ground coffee in it. You can see this ground coffee right here. So we're going to, again, vacuum this all out, make it nice and clean. Here we go. So if you look down into the grinder now, you should be able to see the bottom of it. It's just black plastic, and you can see the conical burr. So make sure that's all clean. Sometimes if coffee gets stuck in between these little square things here, these little tabs, you can use your old toothbrush or your grinder brush that you just used on the outer brush. You can also just use a normal paper clip. Here's a paper clip. Just straighten it out. Straighten it out. Just give the coffee a little stab. Sometimes it can get crusty in there, especially if a little bit of moisture got in there. So you can just stab away at it. You can also see on the grinder right here, right facing you, there's a little hole. It's a little teeny tiny, like kind of rectangular hole. That's the chute, and the chute leads to the front of the machine. It goes right through here, all the way up to here. And right below here is your brew unit, and that's where your coffee's brewed. So what you got to make sure is a lot of times it's not the grinder that gets clogged, it's the chute. So the chute is really where you have to concentrate on cleaning it out. So take your paper clip, or you can also use a bottle brush to get in the chute. You want to give it a little stab, especially if the coffee is really packed in there. It's going to be packed in there no matter what, but kind of loosen it up with your paper clip or whatever you have. Just don't be afraid to kind of stab in there. There's nothing in there that you can hurt. It's just a plain plastic chute. So pull that out. All right, so don't lose the paper clip. All right, so we're going to give it a little vacuum again so I can see that chute a little better now. And now we're going to actually come around to the front of the machine and clean the chute from the front. And I'll show you where that's located. So what you want to do is open the front door, just like you normally would from the little tab. And then you're going to remove your tray and your drag drawer. You can see this made of coffee. All right. Then you're going to also want to remove your brew unit. Just squeeze here. There's some little bumps for your fingers. Squeeze that. Pull it straight out. This you should rinse at least once a week. You can see that coffee gets built up on it. So give it a good rinse at least once a week to keep your coffee fresh. All right, now you're going to want to kind of bend down here and look up into the little ceiling of the machine. And you can see there's a little gray tab right here. If you open up the tab, this is where your coffee actually drops down into your brew unit. Those 3 snap noises that you hear after it grinds, that's actually this little door opening and closing, allowing the coffee to come down. So if you take your finger and you feel up in there, you can feel ground coffee. You can see it probably falling out right now into my hand. But what you want to do is you want to get that all cleaned out too. Because again, the chute goes from here all the way back to where I showed you before. So you want to get that all cleaned out. So we're going to vacuum again. All right. So again, if the coffee's really, really packed in there, you can use your paper clip and really just get it up in there, kind of stab it up in there, just wiggle it all around. It's even better if you use this end. Again, don't lose the paper clip in there, but it's good to get it all scraped out of there. All right, so now we are going to put the machine back together. First, your brew unit. Make sure you line up the bottom part. Give it a good slam in there. Make sure it locks in. Then your drawer and your tray. Push that in nice and firmly. Close your door. All right. Now we're going to reassemble the grinder, and we're going to adjust it back to its true 0 at the same time. So the removable burr has some paint spots on it. You want to make sure these paint spots are going to be facing the 3 o'clock position when you put this back in. Because these 3 tabs that stick out of the removable burr, very important that they're oriented in the right way. So put your burr back in. Got to kind of wiggle it in there sometimes. That's all right. Make sure you push it down as hard as you can so that it doesn't wiggle or it's not like loose. So it's in there. Now what you want to do is this adjustment collar. Kind of threaded like a bottle and a cap. You want to tighten that back down. And then your red paint spot is going to be at that 3 o'clock position. They should all line up, all 3 paint spots, the paint spot on the burr we just took out and the paint spot on this adjustment collar should be all the way at that 3 o'clock position, right underneath this lever that we pushed earlier. So now make sure that this lever is all the way forward. Forward meaning all the way toward the screen of your machine. So all the way up there. All right. Next thing, most important thing when reassembling the grinder is your rubber ring. Make sure you put this back in. So you can see there's 4 slits. Line those up with the 4 slits that are on your removable burr. It doesn't snap down or anything like that. Just make sure it's on there firmly. Kind of wiggle it around. So that's on there pretty firmly. You want it to be all the way down too. The next thing is the hopper. Now, this is a pretty critical step as well. Make sure you're going to turn your number dial to the 0. And this is your little mark, this little plastic point. The other one you're going to turn all the way to the minus. Usually they don't move, but you should hold them in place just in case. And then we're going to reinsert it into the machine. Alright, sometimes you got to wiggle these just a little bit, but try and keep them as close to the minus and the 0 as possible. Alright, so Now, what you want to do is, before you screw it down, hold it down with your hand, and then you're going to try each of the dials. This number dial, this grind setting dial, it should freely spin all the way to the 18. See how it goes all the way to the 18? All the way back to the 0. It should freely spin right around. If it doesn't, something's wrong. Give us a call. The other one, right now it's on the minus. You should be able to spin it all the way to the plus. So here we go. See that? Perfect. All right, now we're going to tighten that hopper back down. So here goes. When you're tightening it down, again, make sure you don't drop the screws down there, because you can lose them, or you'll have to do the recalibration again where you put it back together. The other thing is, you want to make sure that you don't tighten them down too tight, because if you tighten them down really tight, you can either strip the plastic or you might crack the hopper. You don't want to do that. So just snug so that it doesn't flop around or anything. Here's the last one. All right, see, that's just snug. It doesn't move. Now we're going to put our lids back on. First the inner lid. Make sure that's firmly on. Outer lid. Snap it down, close it up. Works great, all right? So now, put your water tank back on the machine. Make sure, again, that it's properly seated. And I'm going to plug it back in. Plug it back in. If you take the cord out, make sure you plug it back in firmly, or make sure it's plugged into a working outlet. All right, and now we're going to give it a try. So it should turn on. Now, you're going to put some beans in the hopper like you normally would, but make sure you don't put too many. Just in case something, you didn't do something quite right, make sure you just put a little bit in. So this is our Gaggia Arabica. So now, select product ready for use. It's ready to go. So what you want to do is, you're going to brew a coffee. Now, I'm going to make sure that these are adjusted in here to what I normally put them at before I start everything. So don't leave it at the 0. What you want to do, make sure that you turn this dial up to like a 6 or an 8. So we're going to put it on the 8. Plus minus, it has a little hash mark in the middle. You want to turn it to this middle mark. Again, these little prongs, these little plastic things are your indicator. So, middle mark. All right. Now select coffee. Let's choose an espresso. If that happens, it's okay. Remember, we just cleaned out that whole chute, so it's got to get refilled again all the way this much. So, hit it again. Here it comes. Usually 2 times is about right. Sometimes it's 3 times depending on your beans and the usual grind setting that you have. So here comes our espresso. Our brand new fresh espresso. So there it is. If you have any questions or you get stuck or you're having trouble, just give us a call. And thanks for watching.